So behind me we have our 318 Ti, which just got back from doing about 50 to 75 laps at the Speed and Style series here in Richmond, Virginia. So after this event, we wanted to do a nut and bolt check of the car, and I wanted to very quickly explain how we do the nut and bolt check, and also share with you a product that we have got from Amazon that's really cheap that will make this a lot easier for you guys. So I want to talk through a couple of things that actually failed at the last event, and we didn't even know it until this car was in the lift. So first and foremost, things you need to look at your car. You give it a good once over, but some of the things we caught was we actually had a drain plug on the radiator that broke off. It was a plastic fitting, and it snapped right off and was leaking coolant, and actually it had very little water in the radiator after that event, so it was kind of unfortunate. We didn't overheat the car or anything like that, but we got very, very close, and if it wasn't on the lift and we hadn't done this inspection, we could have definitely damaged the motor. Along with that, we're going to get into the orange stuff here in a second. But we also caught a couple of things. Let's start right here on the exhaust. So we knew we had an exhaust leak, but what I didn't realize that all of these fasteners had actually backed out and was causing the exhaust leak. So we've since gone back, made some adjustments to the exhaust and retorqued everything. Another one that caught me by surprise was this lower motor mount bolt right there. So that guy was dangling off actually, and it just happened to peruse through here. So you're going to see a bunch of this orange stuff. Again, we're going to talk about that in a second on how and why we do what we do. Another one that really surprised us was this band that holds the gas tank, which I had removed the gas tank before that event, but this band actually had dropped off this clevis and had landed on this brake line right here and was rusting and hooking around that. So obviously the car is kind of put back together now. I wanted to do this video only if I had time. So everything's kind of fixed and patched up, but I do want to make sure we address a couple things. Another thing, and it's kind of a common problem with any CV-based non-solid axle car, is these bolts here tend to back out. And I actually caught this just before the event. We were putting on the trailer, and I crawled underneath to put the toe straps and all that fun stuff on, and noticed these had all backed out. So they stay tight through the event, but again, it's just something else to take a look at. Okay, so kind of the premise of the video as well is, I keep mentioning this orange paste that we put on, and what that is a torque check substance. So it's kind of like a waxy paste that we apply. You can do paint markers and other things like that, and that stuff does work. However, sometimes paint markers don't, number one, shine as easily as this, so we've kind of located all of it so you can just visually get underneath the car and take a look at all of the components, or as many as you can physically see, just by putting them in strategic locations. But I want to demonstrate the actual paste for you guys. So if you want to come over here really quick. So I had applied this stuff to these bolts just for a demo. But what happens is, as soon as your bolt comes loose, you'll see the paste kind of fragments, and it'll actually, this is not hard all the way, but it'll actually get so hard that it'll pop off. You can still see this a little bit pasty. So you apply it in a manner to where you can see it, and then as soon as that tears, you can get a very, very quick indication. So it works like a paint marker, however it's brighter. The stuff, again, when it's fully hardened, it will actually snap and break, and actually this piece will get removed completely. So it also just goes absent when the bolt and nut are allowed to spin freely. So a couple things before we get too far off. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. I wanted to give you, oh, here it is. So I wanted to tell you guys where you can find it. So this, you can just get a tube of this on Amazon for really cheap. I think it was like $5 or $6. And you can go over top the entire car. It gives you a little diagram on how to use it. But things this stuff is not good for, right? So this is important. Number one, I don't think it would work well on exhaust, because I think it would just melt off and supply no value. The other thing is, if the bolt and nut are torqued, but let's say, for example, this is a good spot. Let's see if I can move this. So on this SLR kit, this right here is aluminum. So potentially if you had an impact or something like that and you had damaged the aluminum on the inside, you may not actually affect the torque of the bolt. So don't let it be, don't let it give you a false sense of security, but it is definitely a very quick check. I think that's really the point that I wanted to get across in this video, was that number one, go through your car, because we found 5 or 6 very critical things that we caught just because we put on a lift. Number two is pick up a tube of this stuff because it's super cheap, and it can actually give you a really good quick indication if things are going correctly or not. And no one wants to be at the track actually work on your car. So anyway, quick pro tip: cross-check torque seal. It's kind of a tamper-proof type of